Hey, welcome to the Closing Beat, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Nice long weekend there. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. Had a great Independence Day. We're doing this as a recording today because if you've ever wanted to know where jazz wealth is at, just look at Hurricane Elsa and see where it's going to land. That's right where we're at. That's just where we live. That's where the office is here. So we've got our first round of storms and everything coming through right about the time we're supposed to be doing this show live. So we're recording it because we don't like to skip shows if possible. And you can already hear the wind starting to pick up a little bit. Don't worry, we've been listening to the radio here, and everything's going to be fine. We've got everything dialed in, battened down and all that. But we're going to talk about the stock markets here because it's a bit of a down day. I'd like to talk about it. It was a long weekend. I had all weekend to sit around and stare at things. So we'll dive into that here and check this out. Remember, we normally do Wine and Wealths here in the Speakeasy on Thursdays. I guess pending how things go, I'm assuming everything will be fine by then. We'll be back, but don't really have that sort of update for you just yet. And if you've been looking to join us here at Jazz Wealth, Cody's inviting people from the waiting list there, little by little, getting everybody put in there so we can get things fired back up again because we've been closed for a while if you're not familiar with us. I also thank you for watching here today. If you're watching over the summertime, and hope it's dry where you're at. Let's take a look at what we have because you got some interesting stuff going on, right? First of all, the Russell 2000, weakest of the day, currently down about 1.5%. The Russell falling, refusing to break out of this sort of consolidation we've been talking about. It was the leading index of the year. It gives up first place to the S&P here today. S&P up over 15%. The Russell now up 15.5%. So just ever so slightly, this decline forgoes that first place there for the Russell there. It's led all year except for a couple little times. No, there's only just one time where the Dow briefly, for like 2 days, took over as the best performer. But other than that, looks like the Russell's fading away. Now today, it's the value stocks. Small cap value is what's getting hit. And actually, across the board, if you're looking at large cap, mid cap, or small cap, all your value stocks or your value funds, whatever you're looking at in there, just pulling back here with the Russell. Now, everything else is weak as well, but those stand out as being a little bit weaker. If we go on over to the Dow, really, it's not bad. We're trying for a little bit of a recovery here. We'll see what happens by the end of the day. But you've got Apple standing out today. Great move, almost back to new highs there. And Salesforce.com breaking out of a kind of a quiet consolidation after leaving its downtrend here. So technical traders just starting to get a little more excited about Salesforce. Other than that, it's pretty nasty if you're looking through the Dow. You got some real weakness there as a lot of things are starting to pull back. DOW, one of the rollover stocks pulling back. Disney, still right there, hanging into breaking out of the uptrend, but not so great. Anything energy related was really, really weak today. And just across the board, Caterpillar, Amgen, 3M. Remember, last week we spent time saying, look at all these stocks, look at all these sectors already starting to roll over, but yet the market's moving higher just because of a handful of names. Well, even today, the market's trying to be moved higher and go back positive due to just those same names, but everything else is saying, we need a break. We want to roll over. And you can see that, man. You start looking through stocks. Just take a list and blast through the list. You see a lot of this. Not at new highs. You see attempts to move to highs that are failing right now. So a lot of that going on. If you're looking for a pullback, I mean, this is your first real hint. We'll announce the Guess the Dow winner tomorrow just because we got to get out of here soon. But we'll see how that lands. Cody will be ready for that one if you're watching. The NASDAQ today held up the best. It's currently the only one positive on the day, largely because of Amazon. Amazon's your biggest contributor and biggest gainer. Look at that, the technical pattern there that people like to follow. We talked about Amazon being sideways and boring here for months. All of a sudden it breaks out and now we get all this excitement, right? Now it takes off. Why? Because the technical pattern there makes it good. And also there's a lot of news. I'll cover that in a second on Amazon, but awesome breakout on Amazon there. Biggest contributor to the gains today in the NASDAQ, also the biggest gainer. If you're looking around, you're going to find some cool stuff. You got Zoom up 3% on the day. You got DocuSign also making new highs there, waking up as well. Really, for the weak stuff today, it's the Chinese names. Let me see where we stand on that. Chinese names, JD.com down 5%, Baidu down about 4.5%, somewhere in there. That's where the real weakness was in terms of the stocks that are the weakest on the day, largely because of what happened with Didi. We'll talk about that in a second. You got the S&P 500 oil stocks today, man. Oil was the biggest loser. So if you're looking through the list, you got Diamondback down 6.5% now at the moment. You got Halliburton down, like the top 5 names that were the weakest in the S&P, all oil related. So if you like that oil pullback, now's the time to start digging through that list there if that's something that you want to look at there. Amazon, again, the biggest contributor on the day. The big news there, or there's a lot of news for Amazon. The Pentagon canceled that JEDI contract. That's their move to be more cloud-based, basically, for the Pentagon and their IT services in general, just to be upgraded. So they broke the contract there with Microsoft and said, we're going to accept bids from multiple vendors. We're going to approach this as a multiple vendor type contract. The problem is Amazon and Microsoft, they're the only ones that can get it done. We have nobody else that can get it done. So it's basically being said that this $10 billion contract is now going to be between Amazon and Microsoft, and likely they're going to work together just so they can all drop their lawsuits and maybe work. I don't know how you do that. That's a massive undertaking there, but Apple got a couple upgrades here today. That's one of the reasons for it moving higher. Rollover stocks. Last week we talked about stocks that were already rolling over, Air Products being one of them, continuing to roll over. Notice that the weakness continues to go where the weakness is at. So people see the rollovers and say, well, I don't want to bet on something really strong falling, right? Think about how this goes. If you think the market's going to fall, do you pick on something that's really strong and just assume it's going to fall? Probably not. Your first choice would be something that's already weak. You would assume it getting weaker. It's the same thing when you think the markets eventually bounce. You're going to say, do I want to pick on the really weak stuff and assume that it bounces? No. You want to find stuff that's already showing you strength and go play with those. So your rollover stocks continue to sell off here today. Also, your travel stocks. You had a big hype leading up to the 4th of July holiday. Yay, we're all going to get back out there and travel. That sort of buy the rumor, sell the news event is just kind of fading away. Carnival Cruise down about 4% on the day. Royal Caribbean down as well. A little bit more, basically about 4% as well. Travel names also weak. Anything really that you're looking at. MGM, Host Hotels. Just look around. Anything travel related is going to be kind of weak there overall. Now, oil. You would think it'd be good news for some of these guys that oil is actually falling apart. You got oil down about 2% on the day. OPEC couldn't come to a decision. We talked about it on last Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday. Couldn't come to a decision. The UAE was really the big holdout there. Also, you have some lowered demand expected here in Florida because of the hurricane and whatnot, and maybe that's just a little piece of it. But the focus was on OPEC. They can't figure out. We're not going to increase production. Everybody wanted to do it besides the UAE, apparently. And so because of that, looking through oil, any oil-related ETFs, XOP pulling back, OIH, some of the more popular ones that you look at. The XLE is just a broad-based look at the energy sector in general. Maybe going to break through the 50-day moving average here today. So that's oil. Rather interesting day. One of the more active areas to look if you're a trader or short-term trader. If you look at gold, you've got maybe officially, depending on where this finishes the electronic session here, Golden Cross. So Golden Cross is when the 50, which is always my blue, yeah, you can see it, when the blue line crosses above the red line. When the 50 goes above the 200-day, technical traders call that a Golden Cross. When the 50 goes below the 200-day, they call it the Death Cross, right? Yeah, Death Cross. So the assumption there is when those two cross to the downside, you're going to have weakness ahead of you. When they cross to the upside, you're going to have strength. That's the really, really simple way of looking at it. And so if you're looking through gold today, not too bad, right? People going and looking for that. Now, you know better, right? You know that you don't use gold as a hedge against current inflation. You use it as a hedge as possible inflation, right? So we did that one last week. Hopefully you learned from that one. Okay, so that's what you have there. Really, if we're just looking around, because the market's still open while we're doing this here, you got bonds moving higher, meaning yields moving lower. I'll use the TLT today. That strength continues there, right? So interest rates just keep falling. Don't fight the Fed here. The Fed's winning. Rates moving lower and lower. There's nowhere else to put your money at the moment. Really, really tough spot there. And tech, naturally, because of Apple and Amazon just holding up today. I'll point up the GDX. Just kind of show that. Gold miners as well. All right, as far as news today for stocks, there's a lot, actually. It wasn't really expected to be too newsworthy of a day. You've got Amazon, of course, with the JEDI contract thing. Also, the new CEO today, we're going to call him Andy Jassy. That's what we're going to call him here because it's Andy Jassy or something like that. So Andy Jassy over there at Amazon takes over as the new CEO. Jeff Bezos headed off to space doing his thing there. He gets 61,000 shares, right? as part of his deal. So let's just see here real quick. Where's the Amazon trade? It's a good day for Amazon. 61,000 shares he gets awarded for becoming the new CEO. It vests over like 10 years or something. Well, that's $224 million that old Andy Jazzy gets there. $224 million in RSUs. Are you familiar with RSUs? Well, it ain't bad to be him there. That's pretty interesting there. Wow. Yeah, not bad. Okay, also we have Didi. That's going to be in the headlines today. Big one there. Stock falls 21%. China says, hey, you're mishandling how we use or how you use info about your users there. You want to know the real truth? Had nothing to do with that one. It is China wanted Didi to hold back on their IPO. Didn't want them to go public just yet. They said, no, forget it. We're going to go public. China says, okay, fine, you go public. They go public. The weekend it comes out there, China goes, hey, guess what? We wanted you to delay your IPO, and you didn't. Now we're not happy with the way you're mishandling clients' information using your app there, and so we want it taken off all the app stores and everything. Crushing blow there. It's not like China just figured this out overnight. No, you mess with the Chinese government. They do things a little bit differently over there. It's just a tiny bit different. All right, we got AMC. Data here is not quite loading up. But you got AMC going around shareholders, by the way. So when they want to issue more shares, typically, most of the time, it needs to be shareholder agreements. And it largely is just the big companies, so it's not like you. Well, they're actually going around them saying, we're issuing shares either way because we can. We don't have to get approval there. So AMC stock down just about 3%. Speaking of the meme stocks, you got GME, GameStop, there we go. GameStop. Ha ha. So down about 2% today. GameStop is leasing a building. Is that news? They're leasing a building in Vegas or something like that. Granted, it's a big building. But you know how many companies leased buildings today? Why is that a big deal? Well, because it's GameStop. That's the kind of news that makes headlines there with GameStop. They have plenty of money now, and they're basically just saying, well, we want to help our fulfillment be a little bit better, which I don't disagree with. But that wouldn't normally make news. That's not something that would be a big deal. But it is today. Hey, Target. There you go. Target's going to close stores in LA, San Francisco, and Sacramento. Stock was down just a little bit more. They're closing them earlier than they would. So is Walgreens, by the way. So whatever their hours were, they're bringing them back a little bit because of a lot of shoplifting going on. There are videos. You've probably seen them online. People just literally walking into Walgreens on their bikes and stuff, grabbing whatever they want, putting it in a bag, and just leaving. Nobody stops them. That's what's going on in California, so they won't do anything about it. Target says, well, we're just going to have to close a little bit earlier because people keep stealing all the stuff. And nothing. Nothing happens. You guys, you're making fun of us here in Florida, giving us the old Florida man thing. California's got some work to do. What do we have here? Oh, lastly, Subway. So Subway wants to revamp everything, menus and all that stuff. Here comes the rain. And so Subway says, what do we got to do? Like their actual quote, what do we got to do to get folks in here to trust our menu again? Well, we talked about the fact that the tuna sandwich has no discernible tuna inside of it. You know what they said? They said, we actually love our tuna sandwich. We're sticking with our tuna. It's not tuna. They shouldn't be able to say that. At least that's what the lawsuit says. I'll hold back judgment until we see what happens there. But anyways, that's basically what I had to share with you here today. I was going to keep it quick because rain is coming. Hurricane is in the area or working its way here. We are all good to go and nice and safe and all that. So hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. We'll be coming back to you live, hopefully. And you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching.